着陆了，请您再一次确认您的安全带是否系好。飞机马上就要着陆了，请您再一次确认您的安全带是否系好，谢谢。Ladies and gentlemen, our plane will landing immediately. Make sure that
The instructions in Chinese and English. The approach skimming over the rooftops. The thin finger of runway surrounded on three sides by water. This most exhilarating of landings can mean only one thing. We're landing at Kai Tak Airport, gateway to one of the most vibrant cities in the world, Hong Kong. Hong Kong was a crown colony of the United Kingdom from 1842 until the transfer of its sovereignty to the People's Republic of China in 1997. In 1839, the refusal by the Qing dynasty authorities to import opium resulted in the First Opium War between China and Britain. Hong Kong Island was first occupied by British forces in 1841 and then formally ceded from China under the Treaty of Nanjing at the end of the war. In 1984, the two countries signed the Sino-British Joint Declaration, agreeing to transfer the sovereignty of Hong Kong to the People's Republic of China in 1997. Due to the massive shortages of land in Hong Kong, the only way to build here is up, a concept the Hong Kong people have grabbed with open arms. The skyline now rivals that of New York and Sydney. This resulted in a giant pyramid of glass and concrete. Hong Kong has some of the most modern and innovative buildings in the world, using technology to its fullest potential. Some of the more quirky buildings seem to have slipped through the planning meeting when most of the planners were off. My favourite is this. At first glance, it looks like a yacht has ploughed into the street. Affectionately referred to as HMS Wan Chai, this mighty vessel is in fact a shopping arcade in Kowloon, shaped in concrete. It is difficult to imagine that only 300 years ago, Hong Kong was covered in rainforest. In 1840, Lord Palmerston described it as a barren rock, with hardly a house upon it. Today, its wealth rivals that of Spain, Italy and Holland, and it is truly one of the world's greatest trading centres. The name Hong Kong, which literally translates to mean fragrant harbour, is derived from the area around present-day Aberdeen on Hong Kong Island. This is an area where fragrant wood products and fragrant incense were once traded. The narrow body of water which separates Hong Kong Island from the Kowloon Peninsula is known as Victoria Harbour and is one of the deepest natural maritime ports in the world. 98% of the population here are Chinese. Colourful, noisy, exciting and exotic. Hong Kong and its mass of humanity hits you like a fistful of firecrackers. It's also the most crowded place on earth. Up to 165,000 people pack into each square kilometre. You don't go to Hong Kong to relax. You go to be galvanized, to plug into the sheer energy of 6 million people who never seem to rest. Eating is an all-consuming passion of the Chinese, whether it's eating at a top restaurant or just eating a bowl of noodles at a roadside stall. Hong Kong supports almost 4,000 restaurants. The variety is astounding. Hong Kong is one vast supermarket, and shopping is a full-time job. The new shopping malls are high-tech palaces of conspicuous consumption, where only the strongest credit cards survive. All the world's best-known designer names and motifs are represented here, side by side with the more typical Chinese products like silk, jade, lacquered wood and exquisite porcelain. Outside, the shopping is just as frenzied, with a market around every corner. Sometimes, whole streets specialize in certain goods, such as ladies' wear, birds, or even goldfish. Temple Street, named after the Tin Hau Temple, is the liveliest night market in Hong Kong, and is the place to go for cheap clothes, food, pirate DVDs, watches, and fake label goods. In fact, just about anything you can think of. Nathan Road is a magnet for all of Hong Kong's true bargain hunters, drawn here by the myriad of neon signs which seem to cover every inch of space. If you're not wanting to buy, there is still window shopping along what is known as the Golden Mile. Early morning is the best time to bag a bargain on Nathan Road, as the shopkeepers believe the first customer of the day brings good luck. So if you're there when the shop's open, you could barter for the best price. Close to Nathan Road is Kung Fu Park, where old and young come daily to hone their skills. Probably the most famous of Hong Kong's districts is Wan Chai. The name means Little Bay in Cantonese. It is now far from the waterfront, as reclaimed land is pushed out. Wan Chai is still inseparably linked with the name of Susie Wong, immortalized in the film bearing her name. Most of the seedy old bars that had real atmosphere have now been replaced by westernized clubs and discos. Most of the nightlife today is clustered around Lockhart Road. Hong Kong's trams have been running since 1904. These tall, narrow double-decker streetcars trundle along the northern side of Hong Kong Island. When they were built, the route was on what was then the shoreline, which is now almost a mile away. For a standard fare of only $2 Hong Kong, you can go as far as you like. However, if you are over 5'6" tall, you'll find the trams uncomfortable, as they were built with the more compact Chinese locals in mind. Aberdeen was once a quiet fishing village on the western coast of the island, but after immense land reclamation and a building boom, it now rivals Hong Kong Harbour. All this, however, has meant little to Aberdeen's thousands of floating villagers. There are more than 70,000 boat dwellers in Hong Kong, and 20,000 of them live here. The two most prominent ethnic groups are the Tanka, commonly known as the Egg People because they used to pay their taxes in eggs, and the Hok Lau. Their families have lived on the water for hundreds of years, existing mainly by fishing. It may look picturesque, but the authorities see the boats as floating slums. Slowly, the boat people are being lured onto dry land. Housing estates have been built, along with schools for their children. Yet for many, the water is the only life they really know. My favourite eating places in all of Hong Kong are the flamboyant floating restaurants in Shan Wan, opposite Aberdeen Harbour. They are reputed to be the world's largest floating restaurant complex and have seating for over 4,000. The gaudy, overly colourful decoration captures the atmosphere of a large-scale Chinese restaurant. The food is, as you would expect, fantastic. Slightly more expensive than eating ashore, the effort and expense is worth it. The oldest part of colonial Hong Kong is the Western District. Despite its name, it's probably the least western area of the city. It provides a rare glimpse of traditional Chinese life. To the east, but a world apart, is the gleaming, ultra-modern financial district of Central. Here, amongst the stunning skyscrapers, sit the buildings responsible for making Hong Kong a world-leading financial centre. Along Tai Hang Road, towards the harbour, is Causeway Bay, best known as a busy shopping area. It features large department stores, mainly of Japanese origin. Retail rents in this area are the highest in the world. This part of Hong Kong's waterfront features a unique genuflection of the musical genius of Noel Coward, the Noonday Gun, made famous in his song Mad Dogs and Englishmen, with the line, "In Hong Kong they strike a gong and fire off the noonday gun." From Rolls-Royce to rickshaw, Hong Kong offers every mode of conveyance for rich and poor. The most important is the Star Ferry. Shuttling back and forth across Victoria Harbour, these green and white ferries link the communities together in a way that is both symbolic and practical. The inaugural crossing was in 1870, with the first crossing of the current fleet in 1899. Today, a crossing costs about 10 pence, one of the cheapest in the world, for the 7 or 8 minute journey between Central and Tsim Sha Tsui on the Kowloon side. A little known fact about Hong Kong is that it has some beautiful beaches. One of the best is at Repulse Bay on the island's southern coast. During the week they are almost deserted, but visit on a weekend and you'll be sitting shoulder to shoulder with tens of thousands of locals. A short drive around the coast brings you to the tourist magnet of Stanley. Stanley was the largest indigenous settlement when the British first set foot in the colony in 1841. The large market dominates the town, drawing thousands of tourists and locals each weekend. The market covers almost a square mile, selling, as well as souvenirs, designer clothes. However, if the £4 pair of Levi's I bought were anything to go by, not all were authentic. For the very best views over Hong Kong, everyone should visit Victoria Peak. Built in 1888, the Peak Tramway made Victoria one of the most sought-after places on the island to live. The impossibly steep funicular tram is more than just a tourist attraction. The tramway only has 2 cars, taking 72 passengers each journey. It is pulled up by over 5,000 feet of steel cable. Before the tramway, sedan chairs were the only mode of transport to the top. The vista from the Peak Tower are awe-inspiring, with views all the way to mainland China and Macau. The Peak has been the place to live ever since the British arrived, with its cool air 1,500 feet above the stifling city. Hong Kong today has more millionaires, more Rolls Royces and more mobile phones per head than anywhere else in the world. Staying at the Peak until dark, Hong Kong becomes a sea of a billion lights.